There is real, tangible, hard news out of the Pac-12 today. Big changes at the top of the Pac-12 conference. Hello? Centered on the Board of Governors in the Pac-12. Anna Marie Cossé, the president of Washington, off the Board of Directors in the Pac-12. Now, her term expired. The presidents rotate on a 3-year term. And very interesting is the fact that Robert Robbins, the president in Arizona, is the newest member, and you'll never guess who the president of the Board of Directors of the Pac-12 is. Yeah, that's right. It's Washington State's Kirk Schultz, one of the most financially strapped but passionate about sports presidents in the Pac-12. And it's odd because they're in the middle of this contract negotiation, trying to get a new TV deal, trying to get a grant of rights done. But one of the more interesting facets of this conversation is right now the ideal time to be making changes and significant changes, policy directing changes at the top of the Pac-12. And Jake, it just feels like outside of the bodies being changed, now just isn't a real good time to be making changes like this.
Yeah, I mean, I would completely agree with that. At the same time, it's very Pac-12, isn't it? I mean, you're not doing anything in a way that would make sense from a business perspective. You're not like you're making changes to your executive board in the middle of trying to survive as a conference, quite literally, right? It's the old existential crisis we always talk about on the program. So to me, yeah, it's not a great time to be making changes, and I don't care whether your term ran out or whether whether it's just standard protocol or not. It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, you're still making the change, and to me, like President Cossé has never been someone that has really spoken about anything at any given time. So it probably is a little bit wiser to have someone who's obviously outspoken in President Robbins sit on your board. That makes a lot of sense to me that way. But, yeah, I mean, making changes to your board, I'm not so sure that that's a great thing. Can it be turned into a great thing? Yeah, it can be turned into a great thing if your board starts to come up with better ideas, operate the conference in a better way. Like, and again, not as though they have, black and white control over the conference, but if your board can come up with better ideas and in a better direction for the rest of the presidents to try to follow, I would think that would be healthier for your conference in a time when you really could use all the leadership that you can get when you're talking about whether you're going to survive or not. So I didn't love this timing-wise, but at the same time, that's the way they've chosen to handle it. And I'm left feeling like, yeah, man, are we really that surprised? This is the Pac-12 doing what the Pac-12 does, making decisions and changing things when really there's no reason to change things. So I don't know. Well, it remains to be seen. But what I can say is that President Cossé at Washington just got a little less busy, which I think for Washington could also be a positive thing when you look at them changing conferences potentially.
Well, and I think a couple of things stand out about this. Obviously, we all are aware that President Cossé was one of the most vocal critics, at least according to our sources here on the show. She was one of the most vocal critics against streaming, an all-Apple deal. That's one. Two, she was not at all passionate about the success or failure of sports. She was very much, from our sourcing, much more about the money and the bottom line. Whereas you add somebody like Bobby Robbins at Arizona, that is a sports fanatic. That is somebody who is all in on making sure that not only are his sports programs making money, but that his sports programs are winning. Robert Robbins at Arizona is a passionate sports figure. I think that is a very good move. But the name that comes to mind, and I'm sure this will be conspiracy theory, but I couldn't help but think it the first time I heard about this, Carol Folt at USC. Now, why do I say that? I say that because how did we wind up in this situation with the Pac-12 in the first place? Well, Carol Folt decided not to tell anybody that she and UCLA were going to the Big Ten. But what else did Carol Folt do? Carol Folt, who is an extremely influential president in the Pac-12 before they made the announcement that they were going to the Big Ten, torpedoed expansion. And if you look at now what this does, I thought a very good point was made on Twitter today when somebody said, hey, this gives one of the most prominent four-corner presidents a seat at the decision-making table. And that's exactly what this does. Robert Robbins has a very clear, I think, path forward in his mind. Staying going, I don't think any of us know that. But when I look at Bobby Robbins at Arizona, the thing that is very clear is if there is a better path to prosperity for his teams in the Big 12, he's out. He's going to the Big 12, which is very reminiscent, in my opinion, of what happened with Carol Folt and USC at the Pac-12. And Jake, it feels a little too close for comfort.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, when you give a four-corner school president, controller seat at the table, yeah, I mean, I think that's a really dynamic situation. I mean, obviously, President Robbins, like I said, has been really outspoken about what his position is. He's not scared to say what's on his mind.
That's right.
And I think that that's like I was saying, I think that's a big change from President Kase. Like, ultimately, and I think this is where, for me, the rubber kind of meets the road with President Kase at Washington. You can sit here behind closed doors and you can, we get great information about the conversations they have. But ultimately, my biggest gripe with her is like, hey, that's all fine and dandy that you want to be against streaming behind closed doors, but why don't you come out and say that? Why don't you come out and share that thought? Because I think that there's two schools of thought here, right? Obviously, you've got the President Robbins, Colorado school of thought, right? Arizona, Colorado, hell, even ASU you could throw in there. Not so much Utah, but a little bit, but like not as much. Like President Robbins has been pretty aggressive about it. Like
I would agree.
Obviously they've all kind of talked about it, but I'm talking about the aggression that one speaks with. Like President Robbins and Ray Anderson have both in different ways talked very aggressively about what their opinions are. And I do think there's some benefit to having someone like that on your executive board rather than someone that is an administrator or an educational mind first who just kind of has a thought on why she doesn't really feel like trying to figure out YouTube TV. Right? Like that's two different schools of thought, right?
That's
like
a good point.
This is someone who is education first, academics first, and doesn't really operate in the world of streaming. So I can't emphasize enough how much people make decisions for the bigger picture based on what they do in the day-to-day. So if you're in your 60s and you don't give a damn about streaming, you're probably not going to be real interested in getting a streaming service for your conference. Whereas if you're President Robbins and you're a sports fanatic and you love sports and you want to see sports thrive and you probably do have some experience with streaming, you're going to push for that a little bit more. So that's why I say this could be beneficial, but there's no getting around the fact that the timing is just not great. I mean, like if you were going to make this change, why wouldn't you have made it a couple months ago, like at a minimum? Why wouldn't you have made it earlier?
I mean, because this is the timing of the service. I mean, they serve in 3-year terms, and we've been telling you all spring long that summer break was coming, and the new year in the Pac-12 was beginning on July 1st, and I think that's why you're seeing this. But I think very much to your point, you look at this statement right here by President Robbins to Dennis Dodd at CBS. Asked about the speculation over the future of the conference, Robbins rejected the notion that schools, including Arizona, would bolt for the Big 12 prior to being presented with a media rights proposal. Quote, it's heavily dependent on Kliavkoff and his team negotiating a good media deal for us to stay competitive. And if that was all Bobby Robbins said, I don't think anybody would have batted an eye on it.
Right.
But that was far from all he said. He then also told Dennis Dodd at CBS, but he painted a nuanced picture for Arizona, citing the school's proximity to the Big 12 footprint and that league's powerhouse basketball brand as a basis for, quote unquote, some affinities. The now infamous some affinities. And the problem with that is that guy, Bobby Robbins, is now on the Pac-12 board of directors, one of 3 presidents who really make decisions. And if you don't know, and I'm not trying to oversimplify this, I'm trying to just tell you what the modus operandi here is. You have George Kliavkoff and his staff, but he reports to the board of directors. Those 3 presidents that now include Bobby Robbins and Kirk Schultz from Washington State as the chair of the board of directors, they take the pretty much the edict and they bring it down to their pods of presidents. They each have a group of presidents that they work with, and that's how policy is dictated in the Pac-12. So when you have Arizona, Stanford, and Washington State now as the decision makers, essentially, They're going to approve a TV deal, and they're going to try and sell that to their pod of presidents. It just feels a little too reminiscent of Carol Folt at USC, or Carol Folt, excuse me, at USC. It feels a little too reminiscent with Bobby Robbins in Arizona. And the bigger thing is you go back to this, what I think is now, a very interesting statement by Jed Fish talking about how, University of Arizona has a place to go. And remember, this guy's boss, Bobby Robbins, is now on the board of directors making decisions about who stays and who goes and TV deals and all of that. This is Bobby Robbins, the football coach at Arizona, talking about leaving for the Big 12.
Arizona's going to have a place to go. And that's what I tell our recruits.
Be all right.
That's what I tell our donors. That's what I tell our families of current personnel. We have a great brand. And we have a great basketball program, we have a great softball program, a great baseball program, and I believe we have the opportunity to have an incredible football program.
Yeah.
We're fine.
Yeah.
Where we play our road games, we'll wait and see for our president. But we are locked in and loaded for this season, and we're going to try to just be where our feet are, which is right now in the Pac-10.
Pac-10. Like, it's just awkward.
Yeah, dude. It's
right. And and now that guy's boss is sitting on the board of directors for the Pac-12. Right. It just feels like Carol Folt at USC and UCLA all over again.
Pac-10.
And I actually think if all things were equal and the Pac-12 was prospering, I think this would be a great move, because when you look at Schultz, you look at Tessier Levine, and you look at Bobby Robbins at Arizona, they're all three very passionate about sports.
right.
Two of those three spend heavy money on sports. Stanford does not spend heavy money on sports, but Washington State and Arizona spend heavy money on sports. I think sports just jumped up the rung of priorities in the Pac-12 on the board of directors significantly.
Right.
But what does it matter if Bobby Robbins takes Arizona to the Big 12, which I still think, if this conference doesn't come together on a grant of rights, whatever George Kliavkoff's TV deal winds up being, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, and I think that when you're in a position to be in the information pipeline before the rest of your presidents are, you're in an even bigger, as Jay Monahan would say, control position, right? You're getting the information first, and then you're going to go ahead and have conversations and talk about it and work about it. And so, again, I mean, just picture this. Like if President Robbins already, let's just say as an example, I'm not saying he does, but as an example, if President Robbins is like 90-10, he wants to take Arizona to the Big 12, let's say. Can you imagine how much easier that proposition is if you're getting the information faster now, right? Like not as though he was out of the loop, but you're sitting on the board now. Like you're getting information as fast as possible. And now that allows you to operate. And so if one day you get a piece of information that says, hey, we're only getting $20 million a year for our TV deal. All right, better get on the phone with Colorado. Better get on the phone with Utah. Better get on the phone with Arizona State, right? Probably Arizona State first, because obviously they're in the state of Arizona.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm talking about. Like when you get that kind of access, that gives you opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise have. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that President Robbins is out to backstab the rest of his fellow presidents in the Pac-12, but it is an interesting parallel when you think about Carol Folt and USC and how that whole thing went down, no doubt.
Yeah, and that Kirk Schultz is now the chair of the board of directors in the Pac-12 is mind-blowing, because you have a situation, and I want to remind you about this. We had it first exclusively on this show. The staff and faculty at Washington State were threatening to do a sit-in. We're threatening essentially not to work until the budgets were reviewed in athletics, because they were so upset, allegedly, about the spending that Kurt Schultz approved and the rubber stamp that he allowed athletics to have. And people are still upset at Washington State over the Nick Rolovich situation, where Rolocock, the former football coach, and the jab, I hesitate to say the word here on YouTube, but didn't want to take
coronavirus.
Didn't want to take the jab. And according to state law, he lost his job over it.
Everybody gets a test.
People were pissed about the way that Washington State handled that. Still are. There's a lawsuit going on. I just think that having this guy, Kirk Schultz, sit as the chair of the board of directors in the Pac-12 is not the best situation for the Pac-12.
Pac-10.
It really is not. And you add this on top of all the Kliavkoff disasters and the San Diego State situation. Like,
back to the envelope calculations.
You add all of this together, and you just say to yourself, bro, who's going to be the spokesman for this league?
Because it's garbage.
Well, seriously. Is it Kliavkoff? The guy sticks his foot in his mouth every time he talks. We haven't heard from him in damn near 6 months. Right? Do you want it to be Kirk Schultz, who every freaking time he's asked about the media deal, 15 minutes from now, bro. Hey, it's been half an hour. Yeah, give me 15 minutes. Like, it's coming next week, 2 days from now, a month from now, your mom's house.
Yeah, look, the optics are never going to be better, so we're not going to do the deal now.
This is the same Kirk Schultz who a week before Pat McAfee was hired, is talking about, oh, man, ESPN, oh, dude, they're laying people off, or we'd have a deal on the table now.
Why is it dragged on so long?
I think it's just the environment. It's the uncertainty in the economy, the layoffs in the tech sector and other places. I mean, look at the major media companies have almost all laid off people, and so have some of the major players in the tech sector. And, I know at least one of the partners we were talking to said, we're ready to sign today. But the optics of us announcing that we're laying off X number of people, and we signed, this multi-million-dollar deal with the Pac-12 are just simply not the best. So we're going to have to wait 6 weeks. Now, I'm not sure if 6 weeks make that much difference or whatever your time frame is, but clearly the optics was something that those groups are really worried about.
Congratulations, but that's bullshit.
We're going to get Pat McAfee $150 million, but, man, that janitor, he's cooked. Right? Like, the optics.
What are you doing, bro?
We're really worried about the optics of giving Pat McAfee $150 million and signing. Come on, dude.
Don't lie to me.
Come on, dude.
Come on, bro.
And, so this is now the guy that's like top dog among presidents.
You've got him.
Unbelievable.
You've got Robbins. Bro.
Good old back of the envelope, bro. Running the conference,
bro,
right?
Back of the envelope calculations.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Come on.
With all due respect, I know they serve in 3-year terms, and God, this was just an administrative process that, it played out, man. It's like the seasons, dude. Yeah, well, here's the problem you can't get away from. When you signed your mile-long TV deal, like however long ago that was, you should have signed it with the understanding that, hey, we need to make sure that when we sign it, that our board's not going to roll over in the middle of that process because of administrative timelines. Like, come on, dude.
But again, I go back to, the wizard behind the curtain who does radio in the Northwest saying, the grant of rights is done, bro. Hey, bro, it's done. So wait, let me get this right. Major changes on the board of directors. But that grant of rights without a TV deal, it's done. Right? Like, this is the problem for the Pac-12. Yeah. It's a mess. All right. Big shout out to Marlon Shaw, who gives away 10 memberships.
Let's go, baby. Good start to the week.
Let's go, Marlon. Good to see you, my
Big
friend.
Week on tap, man. Good start.
Marlon also says, here's making up for that extra penny, $20.01.
Let's go, baby.
Thank you, Marlon. That's unbelievable, dude.
Appreciate you.
Making up for the penny I shorted you last week. Yeah, we were really upset about that.
Yeah, we don't appreciate your back of the envelope calculations, dude.
Do you know how many golf balls I lost this weekend, and you're shorting me a penny? Are you kidding me?
I try to stay calm and not curse.
I actually played. No, I'm not. No, I'm not saying it out loud.
That's what fucking ticks me the
seriously.
Fuck off.
I'm not. No. And then there's like Greg Hawkins, our guy Greg Hawkins, right? We're talking about playing golf next
Greg's
weekend.
Been riding us for like 2 months.
Yeah, every day
man,
he says,
"Why won't you take us to canyons,
take
bro?
me to golf. Let's play." So Greg and I, he doesn't, but I'm like, "Hey, dude,
hey guys,
when are we going to play golf together?" Because we've talked about it. He's like, "How about next weekend?" I was all right, cool. So I make a tee time. 7:08 Saturday morning. Canyons.
I'm just fired up to be here today.
Canyons golf, and Greg's like, "I'm just going to be honest with you, dude. I ain't getting out of bed at 7 o'clock."
No, I guess not.
Bro, come on, bro.
I so love the honesty that Greg displayed right there.
You're welcome.
That was awesome. Okay, Marlon Shaw, golf ball money. He says, I shorted you a penny last week. iPad would not do even money. Wanted to get your tip in early as I can only be live for a bit. We'll catch the stream later tonight and get cut up. Be safe. Marlon, good to see you, my guy. Always good to see you.
But don't cop out. Don't say the iPad can't do even amounts and then make a get your tip in early reference, dude. Like, I saw what you did there. You think you're going to fly under the radar right there? Come on, dude. I know you, Marlon. I know you, sir.
Get your tip in. Early. Is that like before 8 a.m.? It's
Can you do something for me?
Cleveland rocks. Great show. If both of you had to put a percentage chance on Arizona and Colorado leaving for the Big 12, what would that be? Oh, man. 30%.
Yeah.
Max. I still maintain, and I know that this frustrates Big 12 fans, but I still maintain these 10 teams remain together because I think that's overwhelmingly what they want.
Yeah.
I know that it's crazy talk, but again, I'm just going to tell you, I think 10 of these guys would rather stay together. And I think that includes Oregon and Washington, who everybody is certain is going to the Big Ten. I wouldn't be certain about that. I think, are we talking about who's most likely to bail? Sure, you could put Arizona and Colorado in that conversation. Absolutely. Who's done the most due diligence on the Big 12? Put Arizona and Colorado in that conversation. But it's all talk. All these guys do is talk, right? Who's got the balls? Do something about it. You want to complain about the Comcast situation? Do something about it. You want to complain about seat at the table and access? Do something about it.
You know.
You want to complain about money? Do something about it. But no, I don't know that any of these presidents, if you get them to $25 million, I don't believe a single one will leave the conference. Not this time around. Because that's enough money where they can sell it. The problem is I look at people like Cal and I look at people like Washington State who are not financially well off in athletics, and I mean athletics alone. In athletics, Cal and Washington State are not well off. So they, in my opinion, have to take measures. But I don't think Cal and Washington State can act on their own. They're not Oregon. They're not Washington. They're not Utah, right? They're not Stanford. Cal only does what Stanford tells them to do, right? I look at Arizona State. Arizona State, for the most part, has zero leverage here. None. I think the Big 12 would not add Arizona State on its own. I truly do not believe that they would. I think that the Big 12 would add Arizona on its own today if they could. I don't think there's any doubt that they would do that. I think they would add Colorado. I think they would add Gonzaga. I think they would do all of that. But it remains this stigma of who wants to be the first one to go. And I don't think any of these 10 want to be the first one to go. I think they have great admiration for the group. I think they have great respect for each other. And I think if they had their druthers, they would take their 25 and, hey, if they get 30, forget it. They're not going anywhere.
Facts.
They're not going anywhere.
Well, and I think you got to remember the educational money, too. I mean, that's what everyone seems to forget about. There was, in our members-only group chat, which you can be a member, join now, hit the money button at the bottom.
Yep.
Become a member. In our group chat, we have probably 100, 150 people or so, something like that in this group chat where we had one of our listeners actually go digging for the exact number, and I believe the number was like $680 million in change last fiscal year that the Pac-12 brought in educational money. So let's just be conservative. Let's just say it was $500 million, right? That's still a ton of money. I mean, that's a $500 million, bro. Like, so to me, these presidents are not like, oh man, we got to have 70 mil a year. Would 70 mil be great? Yeah. But if they can just get something passable, they would rather stay together than leave. That said, again, back to the Robbins on the board thing, President Robbins is on the board now. So if they are going to be short, that exit out, in my opinion, will be large. Like if you only have 20 million a year, my opinion is that you'd have a group of 4 leave. I'm not saying it's the 4 corner schools because I'm not exactly confident Utah's going to make the jump. But I do think Arizona would go, and that inherently means Arizona State's going because they're basically connected at the hip. And then it's as Buddy up north would say, the dominoes would
Buddy.
start falling.
Buddy up north.
Yeah, Buddy up north.
All I would say is that all of these guys had better get bucked up, and they had better get their buckshots, because they're going to have to think clearly, and they're going to have their mind working like really well. And
Okay,
stuff.
you even got me with that one. That's some of your best work, dude.
Buckshot from our friends at Bucked Up Energy, the official energy provider of the Monty Show. Again, I did it on Saturday. I did it on Sunday. I played awesome golf. No, you didn't. We played. Me and Miss. Me and see what had happened was me and Mrs. Monty. Somebody didn't want to piss off his girlfriend, but that's not really the case. My point was more that we drank the buckshot. And I love what it does for you. You know, when you're having a bad, you already drank yours?
Oh, yeah, dude. I knocked it down. I needed it, bro. It's hot in here today. We're studio's a little warmer than usual today. There may have been some technical difficulties with, something that puts out cool air once in a while. It's a little warm in here.
One of the reasons we moved studios is because our previous studio space was always hot.
Yeah, Sahara.
Always like in the 80s.
Easily.
Like week, we had some heat. They took in our new studio space, in our new office tower here in South Jordan. The dude went out of his way, massive work, moved heaven and earth. It is the hottest day we've ever had in the studio. Because the air conditioner on our floor, and apparently every floor in this building has their own air conditioning setup. The air conditioner on our floor is broken. So the new thermostat they installed in our office suite doesn't matter.
You're so fucked.
It is so hot in here.
Yeah.
Then you turn on the lights. Then you're moving around using high. It's fine. We'll be fine. I'll sweat off the pounds with Richard
But
Simmons.
when you say, "Hey, you already drank yours," yeah, you're damn right. I already drank mine, man.
Yeah, and he means buckshot from Bucked Up Energy. And I'll tell you, Saturday was an interesting day. It was warmer out. We were up, of course, at our favorite golf course, Canyons Golf in Park City. Playing a decent front nine, got to 8, 9, 10, started struggling. And I said to myself, you know what? Got to get a buckshot in.
I'm a man.
Got to get a buckshot in. Stepped up to the 10th tee, which is a dog leg right, about 400 yards, and absolutely smoked a drop. Right down the middle within 70 yards. Now, of course.
Down the middle.
Now, of course. Yeah, I shit all over that iron shot. That thing was terrible. That's not really the point. The point is the drive after the buckshot was amazing. And all buckshot does for you, it gives you that mental lift, because all it is 100 milligrams of caffeine wrapped in awesome ingredients that really help your mind get a lift. And that's what's great about buckshot. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. You've just had lunch. About an hour ago, you got back from lunch. You know you're feeling that carb crash. Get a buckshot. It'll knock that carb crash out. You'll feel better. Have you had a low-grade headache all day? Hey, man, pop a buckshot. It's going to help your mind. That headache's going to ease a little bit. Those are all results that I have felt on a daily basis using buckshot. By the way, I weighed myself this morning. Lost 3 more pounds since Friday when I weighed myself.
What do you bet?
And I'm telling you, if you are not using the Buck Bars from Bucked Up, and I know you guys think I'm crazy. Oh, they're paying you to say that.
Oh, here comes
truly.
the dates.
No, truly. Truly, I'm not even being crazy.
It's real.
These bars, I hate protein bars.
Yeah.
I hate protein bars until I found the Buck Bar. And Ryan, the CEO at Bucked Up, who is I believe he's the Utah CEO of the year.
Yeah.
Got me the hookup on the Buck Bar at the warehouse sale. I've never looked back.
How many bars do you think you've tried in your life? I mean, is it 100?
Oh, dude, it's got to be 100. And I have never had a bar. You know how crappy protein bars are.
They're terrible. Yeah, they're brutal.
They don't taste good, or they're chalky, or they're just super sweet because they put all these artificial sweeteners in them.
You drink a half gallon of water just to get the thing down.
Full of sugar,
Yeah.
not the Buck Bar. And you look at this graph, The dates are absolutely critical because they're natural sweeteners.
Yeah.
It's whey protein isolate, the number one ingredient on the label of a Buck Bar. Whey protein isolate, reliable energy, great nutrition, quality ingredients. They're really, really, the best phrase is right there. It is guilt-free indulgence. And it's the only bar I've ever said, man, I love that bar. I wish it, maybe I'll have another one. Right, I had my bucked up protein shake this morning with my collagen peptides. Darren up at Canyons Golf was breaking balls the other day because I will admit, I said to Darren when he put in the chat several months ago, oh, using the collagen peptides and bucked up. Dude, it's real. Like hair, skin, nails. Went to my barber this weekend to get clipped for Big 12 football media days. Barber's like, man, your hair is it's different. What are you doing different? Collagen peptides from Bucked Up. I'm telling you, use the promo code Monty20 to get 20% off at checkout at buckedup.com. John Teal. Just let Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal go to the Big 10. Then the other 6 go to the Big 12. Toss in Gonzaga and UConn and be done with it.
You like how it's almost like a dinner recipe, bro. Okay. Guys. Okay. Half a cup of Oregon and Washington, quarter cup of Stanford, quarter cup of Cal, right? And now you've got your appetizer with the Big Ten. I love that, bro.
Appreciate that. I just don't think that's ever going to happen. I truly don't. I think it's going to be so difficult to get these presidents to move because it's not something you do lightly. You don't leave I think everybody thinks it's just like printing new letterhead or something.
Pack up the U-Haul.
It's not something you do lightly, man. It is a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
That you're changing, that USC and UCLA are completely changing their identities and their brands. I mean, hell, BYU couldn't even get the Big 12 stamp on their field, right? Did you see how pissed big BYU fans were?
Dude, I would be pissed. It's embarrassing, bro. Like, be
the
better.
guys painted the Big 12 logo on the field, and they put one on the 15 and one on the 25.
You're a douche.
Whoops.
Come on, bro.
Whoops. Accidental. But I'm just saying. It's not something you do lightly, and I think a lot of us think it's lightly. Let's see. Cougar Track says Snickerdoodle is the best. Oh, the Buck Bar, you mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that is absolutely right. And I think that the Everything Bar is really good. Or what is that bar that I have? Dream Bar. Thank you. I have like a whole box of Dream Bars sitting over there. The Dream Bar is really good, but I don't disagree with you. I think the Snickerdoodle is really good. The way they flavor their bars with things like dates. I mean, there's not a bad flavor. Can you use your influence to get other products sweetened with stevia or monk fruit? Ooh, monk fruit. Monk fruit. I can try. Tom Dean, how big of a tip would I need to give you to replace a, quote, Norman with Lawrence? That's large on the screen. I think Lawrence is almost right.
Can you measure it?
I don't know if it's in the shot or not, but Lawrence is on the wall like 3 times. So, everybody's like, there's too many Normans on the wall. We get it.
We get it. We're working on it.
Truck Stop Gumby says buckshot with a cocaine chaser.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend
milkers, my friend.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. Christopher Shannon says, where is Jet lately? Busy, dude. That dude is
tile.
Teddy Wayman, the tile king of Utah. Tanner Plummer, my wife has been working a lot lately. She needs to get her some bucked up. She does, and I'm telling you, you guys, it is just so good.
It makes a huge difference, man. Like literally, like I won't even beat around the bush, right? Had a 52 on the front 9. Absolute trash. Played horrible on the front 9. Back 9, smooth. Pretty good.
Jake hit, and I'm not even trying to exaggerate. It had to be a 325-yard drive.
Yeah, the hole from the Blues, 17 at Canyons is 470 from the Blues, and we were 125, 130 out.
That's
the drive.
And that's my usual drive. Now the drive is downhill a little bit. So,
yeah, it's an elevated tee box.
But
right?
let's call it 320.
Yeah, best drive that I've hit in my life. Dude.
It was absolutely a bomb.
Yeah.
It was a bomb, and I'm telling you, buckshot makes a difference. Let's see. Curtis D316. I'm going to laugh if the Big 12 announces Colorado and Arizona to the Big 12 during media days this week. They will not.
No, that's not how that works, dude.
I just don't think they will.
You can't have. So everyone's kind of been pondering that or making kind of tongue-in-cheek jokes about it. And if you really think about it logistically, a conference would never announce it that way because of the hysteria that would ensue.
Yeah.
You have to control not only the media, but just the whole thing. I mean, you can't have, dude, how many people do you think would attend a Big 12 football media day?
Thousands.
1,000?
I cannot tell you how many people have reached out to us and said, hey, we're going to be in Dallas. Hey, you got 5 minutes? Hey, I'd really like to meet you. Hey, let's have dinner.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you. It's got to be 30, 40 people. Like, hey, can't wait to meet you. Hey, want to come by? Where are you guys going to be located? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's not about me. It's the scope of Big 12 football media days. And I know we've talked about this ad nauseum on the show, and I'm sure you're probably tired of hearing me say it, but, man, I'm telling you that the Big 12 is exploding right before your eyes. And when we compare, conferences or – you cannot compare the Pac-12 and the Big 12 anymore. The Pac-12 has gotten left behind just by being a victim of their circumstance. It does not mean that the Pac-12 is some crappy conference. It does not mean that the universities there are terrible. They're a victim of circumstance with this TV/media deal thing.
Yeah.
And you look at Rucker Park, you look at Mexico, you look at commercial division, you look at a commercial sales director, and now a commercial sales team. Like every day there is an announcement, or at least it feels that way. It's really every week there's an announcement. You have not even had Brett Yormark on staff for a year yet.
Yeah.
He was hired August 1st last year, right? Like you have not even had him in the house a year. And you have been sprinting. Now, I understand there's people in the Big 12 that tell us all the time he moves a little too fast for comfort for some of the people in this conference. But notice, nobody's saying no. Nobody's like, no, we're not going to Monterey. No, we're not going to Rucker Park. They're doing it. We're going to Dallas for pro day.
I mean, isn't it how you'd want it to be, though? I mean,
Well,
if you're a president of a school and you appoint a new commissioner in Brett Yormark, wouldn't you want to have to reel him in versus like getting him going?
Certainly.
Like, wouldn't you
Certainly.
want I think that's why I think the Big 12 is in such a better position, because it's like, hey, we've got this guy in Brett Yormark who, no matter what you think of Brett or his timeline or resume, like the dude's accomplished. He knows how to get deals done. And I think that's what's really giving him the upper hand. Now, obviously, better situation. Okay, cool. There's advantages. Awesome. Dude still had to go out and make the Rucker Park deal. Dude still had to go out and make the Mexico City deal. Like, he's had to go and do these things. And so if I'm the Big 12, I'm thrilled with what he's doing. And I'm thrilled with the idea that his focus is always on, hey, how much money can we make on this? Like, whether it's a small opportunity or a big opportunity, right? It's like, again, in our members-only group chat, the internet. We've had to pay like $1,000 for internet at Big 12 Media Day. And people are like, dude, you can't just use a hotspot? Like, you really have to pay that much? It's like, yeah, dude, because these conferences want to make as much money as possible on every little thing. And I don't blame them. Am I happy to pay $1,000 for internet? Not really. But what choice do I have? And they know that. So with Brett, it's like, hey, everything that we do, we have to make money on. And then if I can go out 4-5 times a year, maybe twice a quarter, if I can go out and make money on events and things that grow the conference's footprint, whether that's geographically, social media wise, whatever it may be, then that's going to put the conference in a great place. And that's why I think that the Big 12 is just running away.
But I look at this. I have a press release in front of me for Big 12. The Big 12 conference launches on-campus tour of Big 12 homecoming.
Yeah.
Every fall, they're going to visit 4 campuses where they're going to have a celebration. Now, obviously, this fall, they are going to go to Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, and BYU.
Yeah.
And they're going to celebrate those the conference on those campuses and celebrate those programs. And they just get it. And the funny thing is, like, you just look at all of the news that's coming out. Like, I cannot tell you how many people. I cannot wait on Wednesday to talk to Kalani Sitake, to talk to Sonny Dykes, Dana Holgerson, like the names. Like, you don't see coaches skipping. You don't see big players skipping. And it just is really impressive to me that the Big 12 executes. Everything they do is about execution. That's what's changed. The Big 12 is about precision. The Pac-12 is trying to get a media rights deal for the last 12 months. It's over a year now that they've been chasing this deal. Yet it's not even comparable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It really is not comparable. It's just one of those things where, and again, I'm not trying to knock the Pac-12, and I know it sounds like that, and I am. You're exactly right. I am trying to be I see the comments saying don't be kind, or I'm trying to be measured because I think it's easy to pile on top of the Pac-12 and be like, oh, they're this trash conference. It's not. That's just not the fact of the case. You have 10 schools that are really high quality. Anybody watching this show would love their kids or themselves to go to that university and get a 4-year degree. If you were
100%.
trying to be a lawyer, if you were trying to be an MBA, if you were trying to be a doctor, a nurse, an actor, a director, there's no finer institutions, an engineer throughout the Pac-10.
Facts.
But this conference athletically has just been piss poor and really poorly run.
Pac-10.
I mean, incompetent.
Yeah.
Absolute, just incompetent.
For what? 15 years?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. Even before the last round of expansion, you could see the cracks in the facade. And Larry Scott and the Aria and the private jets and the San Francisco office building, and there was just no reason for it. It didn't need to happen. But now you don't even have the ability or the facilities, the faculties, the tools to un-F yourself.
yeah.
Right?
Well,
Like,
I mean, that's the best way to say it. Like, you
you don't even have it.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, again, not to keep, being redundant with it, but that's another reason why I think putting Robbins on the board, whether you want to, gift wrap it in, hey, it's just administrative process and we rotate every 3 years. I don't buy that crap, dude. That may be, the timeline, but you can't tell me that there wasn't some thought on when you were negotiating the last TV deal, the one you're ending right now. You're telling me there was zero thought given to, hey, by the way, when we're negotiating our new deal, right, our new media rights deal, our board's going to roll over because it's one of those years. If they didn't have any thought to that, that would just be incredible, because that's the type of thing that, again, a commissioner should really be saying.
Yes.
Or like a president should be bringing up. Like, those are things that you have to think about. So when we were talking about this before the show, I was like, dude, are we really surprised right now? Like, is this supposed to be like some shocking development? Because this is how the Pac-12 does business. And that's why you're here, bro. Like, that's why.
Yeah, a friend of mine in TV just sent me a text message saying had never thought about the fact that Brett Yormark hasn't been on the job a year and has been able to accomplish this while the Pac-12 has stood still.
Yeah. I would contend, and it's
People
just
don't think about that.
Just an opinion. I don't think the Pac-12 has stood still. They're going backwards.
Absolutely.
They're going
You're either
backwards,
moving
bro.
forward or you're moving backward. You're not in our business. You're not standing still. You just don't.
Yeah.
You either are progressing or regressing. I would agree with that.
It begs the question: how long is it going to take the Pac-12 to recover from this time? Because
they'll never recover.
Wow.
They will never recover. The Pac-12. Let's get something straight. As quality as the members of this conference are, and they are top notch, they will never recover from the damage that was done over the last 5 years in this conference. From the Comcast deal to, the lawsuit with the Holiday Bowl, the poor decision making, the lack of decisiveness throughout the pandemic, the damage that was done there, all of it, all of it, man. I could chapter and verse. I could list it.
Yeah.
This conference will never be what it should have been, and what it once could have been.
Yeah.
The Pac-12 will never recover. Don't sugarcoat it, because it's not disrespectful to tell the truth. The truth is the truth any way you want it, right? They're never going to be what they could have been. If Larry Scott had never taken over the helm of this conference, I think we're having a very different conversation. Frankly, and I think the most ardent of Big 12 supporters would agree with me on this, the Big 12 should probably be where the Pac-12 is. When you think about the brands that this conference in the Big 12 has lost, come on, bro.
Yeah.
How do you survive that?
Yeah.
You just take one day at a time. You take one day at a time. And whether it is the Pac-12 snubbing their nose at the Mormons, God damn it, we want caffeine in this conference. I cannot tell you how many jokes were made to me personally. And I'm not Mormon. I'm not a BYU fan. But in talking to people around the conference, I cannot tell you 5 years ago, 10 years ago, how many jokes were made about BYU and the Magic Underpants and the Book of Mormon. And
name, image, and likeness.
those yahoos won't even play on Sunday. Well, apparently the Big 12 didn't have a problem with it. Now, did the Big 12 pick him up when Bronco was begging, the Austin American Statesman? No. But there is no question now. One of the singular biggest mistakes the Pac-12 made was that they cast off BYU and never even considered adding him.
Facts.
And it's going to cost them millions per season in football alone.
Yep.
And I would guess at some point BYU will figure out basketball, but it's going to cost them millions in football revenue alone.
Yeah.